Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you all my Cardfight Vanguard Artisaria deck profile for April 2025. For those of you that don't know, this is the Lyrical Monasterio lock deck, finally introducing the proper form of lock to the D format or standard format for Cardfight Vanguard. A really fun, awesome deck that uses the different sound system orders to either set up the many different Shadow Army tokens that you can call out, or set up a play to lock your opponent's rear guards. So being able to limit your opponent in such a way makes this a different take on the Lyrical Monasterio deck, but wanted to update you all with this as the first deck for the Moonfangs and Cerulean Blaze set, since it's definitely the one I wanted to build the most. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So we'll go ahead and start off with the ride deck, the standard being the energy generator. Our starter is Head Up Octaver Proto. When wrote upon, if you went second, draw a card. Our grade 1 is Dynamic Exciter Hysteria. When it's placed by riding from Heaped Up Octaver Proto, reveal a grade 3 with Artisaria and its card name from your ride deck. Search your deck for up to one sound system card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. So the sound system cards have the different setups, whether it be setting up the Shadow Army token or being the option for locking your opponent's rear guard. You use these sound systems in tandem with your Vanguard to set up these plays, so being able to search one out with our grade 1 definitely does come in handy. Our grade 2 is Witching Vibrato Lefel. When placed by riding from Dynamic Exciter Hysteria, reveal a grade 3 with Artisaria from your ride deck. Search your deck for up to one sound system card, reveal it, put it in your hand, and shuffle the deck. So just more search power for the sound systems that we run, so you have a guarantee to have both searched out and available. With our grade 3 being Polyphonic Overdrive Artisaria, we run the one additional copy in the main deck. We do run more in the main deck along with the ride deck, but before we get to those additional cards, I figured we'd go over the actual orders themselves that we play in the deck as well, with each order being a grade 3. They can't be set up until we have our Vanguard ready to go. This card cannot be played, and it cannot be put into your order zone other than by the ability of a unit with Artisaria and its card name. When this unit is put into the order zone, draw a card and call up to one Shadow Army token to rear guard. As we mentioned before, the Shadow Army tokens have the 15k power, and we're originally with the Orphis deck, but I think it's really cool that we can play them in a Lyrical Monasterio deck now as well. So this card will set up the Shadow Army token when need be, with the next order being the Powerhouse Mega Romania. It cannot be played and cannot be put into the order zone other than by the ability of a unit with Artisaria and its card name. When it's put into the order zone, if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, choose up to one of your opponent's rear guards and lock it. So just more setup depending on if you want to call out a Shadow Army token, or if your opponent doesn't have any rear guards for you to lock, you can set up the Shout and Shadows, and if they do have a rear guard to lock, you can go for the Mega Romania, all set up depending on the order you want to use for that turn. For the additional grade 3s we run in the main deck, we run 3 additional copies of Polyphonic Overdrive Artisaria. With this card, during your turn, if your order zone has 2 or more sound systems, it gets critical +1. On the Vanguard circle once per turn, you can Energy Blast 2. Choose a sound system card from your hand or drop and put it into your order zone. If you put a card from your hand, draw a card. And then the option on Vanguard, when it attacks, to counter +1, call up to one Shadow Army token to rear for each sound system in your order zone. All your front row get +5 until end of turn for every 2 sound systems in your order zone. Added power to the Shadow Army tokens you can call out with your Vanguard, but also just being the main way to set up your sound systems, since they cannot be put into the order zone other than by the ability of your Artisaria Vanguard. We're also running 2 additional copies for the grade 3s of Sing to the Sky, Rockroya. When this unit attacks, this unit gets +5 until the end of that battle for each sound system in your order zone. And when this unit is returned to the hand from rear during your turn, or retired from rear during your turn, if you have a Vanguard with Artisaria and its card name, Soul Blast 1, choose one of your units, and it gets +5 to end of turn. So this is meant to be used with the Shadow Army tokens, calling them over this unit since it was retired during your turn and called over with a Shadow Army token, giving you an additional +5 to one of your other units. We're also, at least I want to run the one card I was missing more copies of, but you can run 4 of and replace the Starry Witchcraft Roseanne with these units when you get them, and that is Devilish Flanger Lufer. When it's placed on rear or put into the guard circle, if your order zone has a sound system, it gets +5 power and +5 defense until the end of turn. And when it's returned to the hand from rear during your turn, or retired from rear guard during your turn, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Artisaria and its card name, counter +1 and draw a card. So just the added plus shield power power and attack, and then the added option for draw power when you once again do what we mentioned with the Recroia unit to be able to call over it with the Shadow Army token and then draw a card. We're also running for the grade 2s, the 4 copies of Loving Pink Francette, having just another option with the added bounce power when it attacks. If you have 3 or more units with different card names, it gets +5 to end of turn. If you have 4 more different units at the end of the battle, choose up to one of your other rear guards and return it to hand. So you could use the bounce power of Francette with cards like Lufer or even our Recroia if you're not going for the Shadow Army token play with your Artisaria. And then the other grade 2s being 4 copies of Dazzle Bubble Paradise Pressia for the Energy Blast or Counterblast option when you Persona Ride to have another bounce power rearguard, or a draw when it's discarded from the hand during the ride phase to ride from the ride deck. For the grade 1s, we're running 2 copies of Trailing Notes Reverbia. Well, during your turn, if your Aura Zone has a sound system, it gets +5, and on rearguard at the end of the battle, it boosted. If your Aura Zone has a sound system, put this unit into the soul, choose one of your rearguards, and return it to hand. Just more added bounce power while also being able to provide added backup to the soul buildup by using this unit. And also running the 4 copies of Cooling Heart Yuika. This card definitely helps with the bounce power as well. On rearguard, once per turn, when your other unit in the same column as this unit is placed, if your opponent's Vanguard's grade 3 or greater, it gets +5 until end of turn. And at the end of the battle, this unit boosts a rearguard. You can Soul Blast 1, choose one of your boosted rearguards, and return to the hand, giving you the additional power to some of your units. But also, once again, if you don't have the Shadow Army play, or you can at least bounce the unit before you call the Shadow Army token to be able to avoid retiring a rearguard that you might not have exactly wanted to retire with this play to begin with. And then for the rest of the grade 1s, just 4 of the Sentinels Best Served Hot Warmia. If you wanted to run Elementaria Sanctitude, you could always drop 1 copy of the Sentinel for that spot there. And for our Regalis piece in the deck, we're running the 1 copy of Radiance Caliburn. You perform one of the following: you draw 2 cards, or put this card into the soul and countercharge 1. So they can both work very, very well depending on the play you wanted to go for that specific spot in the turn as well. For the trigger lineup, we're going with the 8 criticals, so the 4 copies of Fluffy Lady Go to Leave, and then the 4 copies of Shocking Candy Oris. If you have the ability triggers, you can always put them in for one of these spots in the deck as just another option to put into the soul to draw a card. The 3 copies of Baratois for the added +5 power on the guard circle, with our heal just being 4 of the generics, Diva of Ataraxia, Georgina, and then our overtrigger being the lyrical overtrigger, Fantastic Fernail Katrina. If you wanted to try Ito's Faro, that was one I was also testing out in the deck, but sticking to the lyrical one for the time being. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. So begins the start of the updates to all of the Vanguard decks for Moonfangs and Cerulean Blaze. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And Kira Qualia out.